Tomorrow, Donald Trump will be sworn in as the 47th President of the United States. Ottawa is planning retaliatory measures if Trump imposes tariffs on Canadian goods. The counter tariffs would apply to $37 billion in U.S. products from various places. So what would the consequences be if Canada retaliates? Earlier, I spoke with the former U.S. Commerce Secretary, Wilbur Ross. He served in the first Trump administration from 2017 to 2021. He's also the author of Risks and Returns, Creating Success in Business Life. Former Commerce Secretary Wilbur Ross, thank you so much for joining us.
I'm delighted to be on again. Thank you.
So President-elect Trump, as you know, has threatened to put a 25% tariff on products from Canada and Mexico. Do you expect to see this as of Monday?
I don't believe that he said he will do it as of Monday. I think what he has said is that he wants border security to be improved. He wants fentanyl, in the case of Mexico especially, to be dealt with. And he's also mentioned the contributions of defense budget relative to the total budget. Mm-hmm. So I don't think he's just said, comes Monday, automatically there's going to be the tariff.
So what do you think will happen? I'm sure you have heard that Canada has come up with $1 billion to further secure the border. What should we expect from what you know of the president's negotiating strategy?
Well, I think in addition to the border security, he would be very eager to see Canada stepping up their defense spending. Canada has not made the 2% figure that was the target for NATO. Mm-hmm. And as you know, he's very obsessed with having all the NATO countries go at least to the 2, if not more.
Right. When we last spoke in the fall, you said that you didn't think that Trump would want to tax Canadian energy. The Alberta Premier met with him in Mar-a-Lago a week ago and tried to, I think, make that case for oil and gas. She didn't get any assurances and didn't seem to think that there would be a carve-out for Canadian energy. What do you still believe that there will be an exemption, or do you think that the tariffs could hit everything?
Well, actually, what I had meant to say in the prior interview was that a lot of the hydrocarbons go down to the U.S. for refining, yes, and then come back up, and that therefore it was simply not the same as an export from Canada that simply stayed in the U.S.
Right.
So I don't know whether he will actually make an exemption or not. We'll just have to see.
Ottawa is now planning counter tariffs. The first round would be $37 billion worth. Obviously, they're going to wait and see what happens next week, but that's sort of the first step. Do you think that counter tariffs are the right approach for Canada?
Well, I think it's good for Canada to make preparations so that they aren't scrambling around if something happens in the way of tariffs.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's in Canada's interest to get into a real tariff war where we'll put a certain tariff, Canada will put some more, then we put more, then Canada puts more.
Yeah.
Reason I don't think that's in Canada's interest is twofold. You export several times, much more to us than we export to you. So if it were real tit for tat, the damage to you would be more in absolute terms, and in relative terms, your goods exports to the U.S. are well over 20% of your whole GDP, mm-hmm, whereas it's only a fraction of that to the U.S. So right. I don't think that kind of tit for tat would be a good idea. I do think that if I were Canada, I would want to be prepared to do something, but I think it's more logical to come up with things that he would like that would help to offset rather than try to fight.
Yeah. Do you understand the level of concern that Canada has if that 25% tariff does go in place? I mean, it would certainly push parts of this country into a recession and have a devastating impact. Do you understand that, and do you think that Donald Trump and Americans understand that?
Well, clearly people around Trump, Scott Bessent and Howard Lutnick and people of that in the incoming administration, they certainly know it.
And is it not a factor then, that consideration, and the fact that it could result in Americans paying more for goods as well?
Sure. Everything is a consideration. But I think you ought to really roll back the clock a little bit to where we were under Trump 1.
Yeah.
In some cases, the tariffs were just a negotiating thing. In others, he really meant them. Frankly, I think it's much more likely that Mexico would be a target this time, a big target than Canada.
Right.
Because so far, I don't believe Mexico has done much. They're in violation of the USMCA agreement as it is.
He has also made these comments in recent weeks about kind of economic annexation, as it were. You know, he's made the joke about the 51st state, but he's also talked about economic annexation. Is that something that we should take seriously, that there is some desire by the president-elect for an economic union with Canada?
Well, our economies are very well intertwined.
Sure. And
have been for quite some time. So whether something more, and of course we have the USMCA.
Yes.
And that of course is coming up for renewal pretty soon anyway. It's required that there be a report to the U.S. Congress in June of this year. So clearly there will be adjustments made or proposed in the USMCA. But I think, well, it's good for Canada to be prepared. I think you ought to just let's see how the hand plays out.
Secretary Ross, I really appreciate your perspective and your knowledge today. Thank you very much, sir.
Well, you're welcome.